This is the Gambling Gauchos.
I'm telling y'all right now, the country's gonna find out. Everything runs through Lubbock. Everything runs through Lubbock. Somebody turn on some damn music!
You're listening to the Gambling Gauchos. Talking Texas Tech, betting on the Big 12 and beyond. We've got everything you need, money lines, memes, and matadors.
Well, you want to quit, Ethan? That'll be the day.
Now, here's Kyle Jacobson and Rob Bro, the Moneyline Matadors, the Casino Cowboys, the Parlay Picadors.
You see, in this world, there's two kinds of people, my friend. Those with loaded guns, and those who dig. You dig. Win.
The Gambling Gauchos. Oh, and one more thing. It's all West Texas. It always has been.
Welcome into the Gambling Gauchos. I'm Rob Bro. He's Kyle Jacobson. Minority owner of the Minnesota Vikings. At least looks like it today. Socks, quarter zip, hat. I'm assuming at this point underwear and t-shirt as well. You are decked out 4-1. So are the Cowboys. Now, I do have a question for you.
Mm-hmm.
Your Vikings.
Yes. My Vikings.
My Cowboys.
Uh-huh.
As I pull out my best skip. Play in a few weeks.
Mm-hmm.
Friendly wager?
Probably.
Okay.
I mean, assuming there's no major injury or something like that.
Oh, come on.
Well,
Cooper Rush is the quarterback right now. We'll probably have Dak back by then.
You'll have Dak. But if we
No,
have
Cooper Rush is 1-0 against the Vikings in the last one matchup.
Yeah, but if we have Sean Mannion out there, I'm not going to make a wager with you.
Oh, it's a friendly wager.
Okay.
What about like a Brian's Steakhouse dinner?
Yeah, something like that.
Or a Rajino barbecue dinner?
That'd be more appropriate, I think.
No free ads to Brian's, though. I don't know that Brian's advertises.
We can throw him a bone.
They do. You can use a debit card there now. It used to be cash and check only.
Welcome to the 20th century.
Yeah, this summer I think they flipped over. Anyways, we're in the Cardinal Sports Center studio. A loss over the weekend, but heading into the bye week, you probably want to gear up for the final stretch, the last 6 games, 4 home games. You can do that at Cardinals. You can do it online or at the Lubbock location, mycardinalsports.com, or over there on 68th and Slide.
Yeah, it's getting a little bit chillier for the home stretch. So if you need Texas Tech hoodies, quarter zips,
absolutely,
anything like that, they've got you covered. I got some Friendship Tigers gear at Cardinals a couple weeks ago. They've got a ton of that. South Plains College, Lubbock Christian. I think they're pretty unique in that, in terms of offering some of the high school gear.
Yeah,
and other
LISD.
colleges. Yeah.
Cupper. Getting to know the Gauchos. I went to school for education. Lubbock Christian University.
Don't most people go to school for education?
No, I was like going to be a teacher. Yeah. And I did one semester of like student teaching methods kind of stuff and realized it wasn't for me. But the lady who like guided us through the Cooper stuff would say Cupper.
I've heard that accent from...
I really want y'all to enjoy your time at Cupper.
Yeah.
Like, well, Cooper.
What did you want to teach? What age? What subject?
Middle school, social studies.
Okay.
Yeah.
I actually, pretty early on in college, I switched early, but when I was going off to college, I was aiming to be a high school government teacher and coach.
Yeah, I wanted to coach.
Then just decided to go a different route, I guess.
Yeah, I hated the kids.
I think that's part of what I was like, okay, seniors in high school may be the maturity level.
Yeah.
I can deal with, but to me, I have a lot of respect for teachers because to me it's daunting to walk into a room of
Yeah.
5-year-olds, 9-year-olds, 12-year-olds, not for me. And I respect anybody who can do that.
That was a joke, by the way. I actually pivoted to youth ministry first and then moved on to sports radio. Actually, I was a full-time graphic designer for 4 years. And then I got into sports radio.
So you were going to spread the gospel.
So I was late, yeah.
And now you're
spreading the gospel of Brahino barbecue.
That's right.
Yeah, I got you.
That was a really good segue, Rob.
Thank you. You set it up. I hit it out.
Yeah. I'm going to try to make it out there during the bye week, perhaps, now that you're less constrained time-wise.
Yeah, well, we need to look and see where they are. So we might not have to make it out during the bye week.
Yeah,
We'll
we'll see.
Go here. Now,
Hey, and we had somebody reach out about Rahino doing a graduation party.
yeah.
So we haven't even really talked about that, but I had at my wedding, actually, with Miss Gaucha, 3 food
I would
trucks. Right, yeah, not my first wedding. 3 food trucks instead of your typical buffet line or something like that.
You made them pay.
Yeah.
That's a good
it was
idea.
different.
Oh, okay.
But hey, if you're doing a wedding,
Either way.
a graduation, some other kind of festival
Yeah.
party,
I think this was
if you can get on their
family
schedule,
weekend thing for them.
yeah, if you can get on their schedule early enough,
Yeah.
see if they can get the Rahino food truck out there.
Cater or whatever else.
Make for some satisfied guests.
Yeah, if I showed up to the party and it was Rahino barbecue. Yeah, hey, you throwing any more parties? Do we ever get word on the sandwich?
No, we need to follow up on
Gaucho
that.
sandwich? We need to.
Yeah, we need to follow up on that.
It was a teased.
Hey, do you feel like you interrupted me a lot during that quick 5-minute open we just did?
No,
Okay. I'm just messing with you.
I didn't feel like that.
Okay.
Should I?
I don't know. All right, Texas Tech loses in Stillwater. Another competitive game. You ultimately lose by 2 possessions, but another one of those where into the fourth quarter, you're in it despite being overmatched, let's say. I mean, you're playing a top 10 team at their house. Kind of looked similar to the Kansas State loss in some ways. It was more competitive than the NC State loss, in my opinion. I guess the main storyline is Behr and Morton. We could probably spend hours talking about it. Do you want to just start there and then get to the rest of it?
I have a question first.
Okay.
Are you done?
Yeah, go ahead, man.
Which loss so far do you feel like you gave away the most? Because I think you were beat by 3 teams that were better than you. But I do feel like in each of the games, you were in it to a point where you should have won. Maybe not NC State, though that early 4th down non-conversion that turned directly into a touchdown really spread that game apart.
I would say Kansas State, and here's why. On the defensive side of the ball, you didn't really make them do anything super special to beat you. We talked about, obviously, Deuce Vaughn and Adrian Martinez are going to get theirs. They're going to run the ball on you. You didn't force Adrian Martinez to make any real key throws on 3rd and long to keep a drive alive. They just kind of ran it down your throat. And you didn't do anything offensively until halfway through the second quarter, maybe. So it feels like you just gave them a huge head start, and then the final 2/3 of the game was extremely competitive. But yeah, if you could run that back and defend the run a little bit better, and if Morton starts and you score on your first drive like you do in Stillwater, instead of waiting until the second quarter to start moving the ball, then maybe that's a totally different game. Against Oklahoma State, I kind of feel like in some respects I think you played a better game in Stillwater than you did in Manhattan and had a similar margin of defeat.
Agree, but you're up 8 late and just give it away.
You were a live favorite at one point.
Man, I guess that's in the 3rd quarter and they scored the last 14 to win by 10.
Yeah, when I got it. No, they went on a, what was that?
You were up by 8.
18-0.
Yeah.
18-0 run.
To win by 10.
But yeah, you were, after that touchdown, you were minus 2.5 on the live spread, and Oklahoma State was plus 135 on the money line. I put 5 units on it as an emotional hedge.
It's rough.
I just feel like you had more room for improvement in Manhattan than you did in Stillwater. So that one,
Yeah.
to answer your question as far as which one felt like it got away from you more, I would say Kansas State.
Did you at any point against... trying to figure out how to say this. Did you at any point against Oklahoma State have a little bit of a flashback to Cliff?
No.
with Kitley with the 3 and outs. Now I know they ran it on one of them. They ran the ball but is it a minute and 3 seconds or something, and it's a 3 and out, and you're like, oh my God.
I didn't have flashbacks in the moment, although I respect that comparison. That makes sense. I do. In hindsight, it's super frustrating to go tempo on 3rd and 1 and run it up the middle and get stuffed. It's like, could we run the clock for 30 seconds and then maybe think of something different?
And that's not a negative. I mean, Cliff was an elite offensive coordinator who had some stretches where they went 3 and out.
Always after a key defensive stop when you could not get those 90% of the time.
Right. Now, again, not a negative. It's just the course of a football game. You're going to have some moments like that. And if that's the future, I mean, I'm not upset. I'm not upset because you're going to get more stops when you have more athletes on the field and more depth when you're healthier. And I think you're going to score way more. I mean, obviously we're going to talk about Behr Morton in a second, but I think Trey Cleveland has broken out a little bit. I'm really excited to see what he can do. And your receivers were a bad match with Donovan. They're a good match with Shuck and Morton because both of those guys can get the ball down the field, and you have a bunch of, I hesitate to say a bunch of Randy Mosses because he was both fast and could body people, but you just have a bunch of big, not slow, but big receivers to win 50-50 battles, and that's not something that Morton, that Donovan really does.
Yeah, I was a little bit surprised, pleasantly surprised at the chemistry. Now, there was one really key lack of chemistry moment when Barron and Jordan Brown were not on the same page on that 3rd and 7. And Barron threw it way wide of where Brown finished his route. Then you go for it on 4th and 7 and miss. But, yeah, the other guys you alluded to, Xavier White, Trey Cleveland, Jaron Bradley. Jaron Bradley was basically riding the pine until recently. He bust out. He had 8 or 9 catches, including the touchdown. Trey Cleveland was not a starter to start the season. It was Fungi and Bradley, and he's really come on strong the last 2 weeks. So has Xavier White. Part of that is due to Miles Price's absence. Something we can talk about now or later. When Price is healthy, I would love to see him and Xavier White on the field at the same time. I said this earlier in the season. You're not targeting the tight ends. When you've got 11 personnel on the field and you've got 6 blockers, the 5 offensive linemen plus the tight end versus a 5-man box, you're not running the ball.
Yeah.
So just keep Xavier White on the field. He's obviously a sure-handed playmaker. Keep him on the field and just spread him out. If you're not going to use the numbers advantage that you have with the tight end, then just don't bother with it.
Yeah, and especially when Price comes back, if you could have Price and White on the field, or White and Nehemiah,
yeah,
I think that's a lot better. And especially if you're going to go tempo. And these tight ends, Mason Tharp had a tough game. A tough stretch in the game. I think they played much better late, and he had a great block on the touchdown. But Teeter is not a difference maker in the passing game, and you've not shown an aggressiveness to throw to Baylor Cup. If they can't get it done, or if they're not getting it done, White has gotten it done. Nehemiah Martinez has gotten it done. So if you have 5 wide in the playbook or 4 wide receivers and a running back in the playbook, why force the tight end and be an 11 personnel?
Stretch the defense. Make them cover 2 guys as good as Miles Price and Xavier White and keep them on the field for as many snaps combined as possible.
All right, so let's move on to Morton because here's a question that leads into it. Does the chemistry that Morton have from taking more reps with those guys since Price and the other wide receiver was out?
I think they're asking, did Morton basically luck into good chemistry with Cleveland and White?
Right, because
all of them started the season as backups.
And he played second reps, in practice.
Maybe, yeah. Maybe there's something to that.
I think the reps have been pretty much even with Smith and Morton for 2 or 3 weeks now. They said they backed off after the Texas game, but...
And Cleveland and White have been in the rotation. They haven't been just absent. They just don't play as much as their counterparts until recently.
Morton and Smith are the only ones getting reps in practice. So you're probably getting a bunch of reps with all the receivers. that being said, yeah, sure. I'm sure that does have something to do with it.
All right, can we talk about Behr and Morton now?
Yeah, let's do it.
Where do you want to start?
Well, I mean, should we go back to the preseason where one of us said that Morton should definitely start because if he's the future, you might as well just go for it, and you don't want to start over next year if you think he's the guy?
Did you say that?
Yeah.
You said Behr and Morton should start game 1.
Uh-huh.
I want you to pull the tape on that.
Okay. I'll find it.
I'm not doubting it, but
I probably hedged and said Smith or Morton.
Okay.
But, I mean, we talked off air. I think you're kidding with me right now, right?
No. I think you're kind of talking out of all three sides of your mouth. Just like you were at the spring game when you tweeted Behr and Morton QB1 and then you tweeted Donovan Smith QB1.
Oh, that was a joke.
And then you
that
tweeted
was
Tyler
obvious
Shuck
joke.
QB1. Right.
Yeah, that was an obvious joke.
So if you take a side on all three of them, at some point you'll be correct.
But you remember me saying I don't want Shuck.
Not in such explicit terms.
Oh, very explicit.
Okay, then pull the tape on it.
Okay, well, I can't right now.
I know, yeah.
Okay.
I'll give you all week. We have a bye, so.
My
rush.
thought was before the season, I don't want to be in a position where you have Shuck all year and then have to re-break somebody else in next year. I wanted whoever's going to be the starter next year to be the starter this year.
I think you just start whoever you think the best quarterback is at the beginning of this season, and they clearly thought that was Shuck. And for all this talk about how Shuck is just automatic to the NFL, I'm sorry, but not that many guys get drafted.
Right.
And people were talking about that last year, that he was going to come here, one and done, just set the world on fire, go to the NFL, be a first-round pick.
He's not better than Behr Morton.
I thought that was crazy. I thought it was crazy to assume that this year that, if he just starts 12 games and he's going to the NFL.
Yeah.
He has 3 years of eligibility left, including this one. I think, my understanding of the COVID rule and his red shirt. So I thought you could have Shuck this year and next, or if he does have a good year like that, you do Shuck this year and then you turn the page to Morton, who would be a red shirt sophomore. That's not like waiting forever to have your turn.
Right.
That's what I thought was going to happen. And then when Shuck got hurt so early in the season, to me it made sense that they go to Donovan, who has the experience. I guess finished camp as the second string quarterback.
We have some clarification. El Picador has said, Rob did say early on that he wanted the future to be the starter. Can't remember if he said Morton or Smith. I don't think I clarified. I think I just said one of the young guys, whoever you think it is.
Now, there has been a lot of conversation. I guess we'll talk about the personnel decision and before we talk about Morton's performance.
Yeah.
So Donovan, well, I don't want to be unfair. So the fan sentiment around Donovan, I think, was closely in line with what we talked about on this podcast. We praised certain aspects of his game. I think we understood why he was out there.
Yes.
Based on the information we had at the time. Is it fair to say the coaches, well, before I get to that, we also recognize some of Donovan's weaknesses.
Right.
I think we were fair to Donovan. I think we saw both sides of it. The coach, is it fair to say, I'm paraphrasing here, but the coaches basically, when asked about Behr Morton, said he's not ready yet. They said he's talented, he's not ready yet.
Yeah.
So they're going with the guy, Donovan, who by this point has, 6 or 7 Power 5 starts under his belt?
This week, Kitley said that it was not physical, it was the communication issues that he couldn't get with on the same page.
I don't think anybody's ever doubted Morton's ceiling and his talent. But when he went out there and played, and you put the ball in his hand 65 times, it did not look to me like a guy struggling to understand what was going on, a guy who was uncomfortable making his first start. He looked more comfortable than Smith did. And I'll go further and say, if you just replaced him, if you told me he was a redshirt junior in his 4th season, I would not really expect that guy to look any more comfortable or make better decisions than Morton did out there.
I'll go further than you're going. It didn't look like a coaching staff who thought he wasn't ready mentally.
They didn't call the game like he was handicapped in any way, right?
No.
So was that coach speak the whole time, or did they not know he was going to be that good? And here's why I asked, because Cliff Kingsbury, when he was at A&M, he's talked about this in interviews. He was like, we had a quarterback battle in camp, and Manziel barely won.
Yeah.
And I don't even know who his backup was. I forgot what his name was. But he was like, we didn't realize he was that good because it was non-contact in practice. And it's like, we didn't know he was a Heisman contender.
Right.
Until the lights came on and he goes out there and game 1 sets the world on fire. So did they not see this coming, or were they giving us coach speak and like holding him back for some other reason?
I don't know. I want to say Baron Morton's just a gamer, and maybe he's not as polished in practice, or he does too much trying to win the job in practice, and was throwing some crazy balls.
Yeah, maybe.
I mean, I want to say it's an easy pick, right? I mean, obviously we've seen each one for at least a game, right? At any point, has Tyler Shuck looked better than Baron Morton against anybody?
No.
Going back to Oregon.
No, not any tape that I've watched.
At any point, has Donovan Smith looked as good as Baron Morton? I would argue yes on that one.
I could maybe
in spots.
I could maybe go watch the Iowa State game.
Yes, that's what I was going to go for.
But
that's at home.
That wasn't a top 10 team on the road. And there was still some throws that Morton made. I have a whole thread on Twitter that was like, okay, this is a better throw than a lot of NFL quarterbacks are capable of making.
I think before the season, I probably had 1A, 1B, Baron Morton, and Donovan Smith, and Tyler Shuck was my third quarterback. I never understood starting Tyler Shuck. Never.
It's because coaches, in general, overvalue experience.
I understood it, and I was fine with it. But if he walks out and stands behind Wilburn to take a snap against West Virginia, I'll be irate.
How do you justify it at this
You
point?
don't. You don't.
I mean, what would McGuire and Kitley say when asked that could possibly be a feasible explanation? Even if you don't agree with it, what would they say?
Hey, this guy won the job out of camp. He was hurt. Being hurt doesn't lose your job. So we have full faith that he's the best option.
And I would,
you know what I say?
If I was a good reporter, my follow-up question would be, do you think you win the game in Stillwater with Shuck fully healthy versus what you had from Morton?
I would pull a Tommy Tuberville and say BS. Did you see that clip today?
No.
At a rally.
A rally?
Yeah.
Jeez.
They went wild.
I mean, the first drive of the game on the touchdown pass to Bradley.
Dog.
Go look at the thread that we have on Twitter. It broke into two parts when it was uploading for some reason, but this is his first drive. This isn't, to compare it to Donovan's first start, this isn't Baron Morton going over the sideline every play. This isn't after a halftime adjustment where Kitley said, hey, they're doing this. This is the first drive of the game. Before he has any chance to reset, go powwow with Kitley.
Yeah.
There's three receivers.
And they said, we want the ball.
Yeah.
They said, they won the toss and said, hey, this freshman that we've said is not ready mentally, that we've said is not ready to be on a field, that we've held for some reason to put out there against Oklahoma State on the road. Now we want the ball. We want him to go out there immediately.
On the touchdown play, you've got three receivers to the boundary.
Yeah.
It's a man-free look. So every receiver's covered man-to-man, and then you've got one free safety playing center field. It's hard to tell because Stillwater has that freaking sky cam, bird's eye view. It looks to me like his shoulders are to the left. He's holding the safety in position. The second receiver in from the sideline is running kind of a post route. As soon as he takes his defender out of the play, Morton flips his shoulders. So not only is he reading the defense properly and faking the safety, which is a veteran move, that's not a redshirt freshman first career start move.
Yeah.
Then he completes the play by throwing an absolute dime in stride. The DB can't make a play on it. Bradley finishes the catch, touchdown. I saw that play. I was like, this is unreal to me.
And I've thought you've had really good receivers. They just, again, I do know for a fact before the season I said that Baron Morton fits Kitley's offense the best.
Yeah.
He's the most Zappy-esque.
He has a way better arm than Zappy.
Well, yes.
I'm just saying.
Yes. Look, I'm not just trying to say I'm right and the coaches were wrong and I'm brilliant and I'm a better football mind. No. Well, not to you. Yeah. I'm always right with you. But I just don't understand. I don't understand. And look, I thought Donovan was the right move after Shuck. Because at that point, I thought Morton just was shelved
Yeah.
for the year. That they were going to let him practice for another year and then whatever. Or that they thought he would get hurt behind this offensive line, which he did.
I was going to say, I think there's two somewhat feasible reasons for holding Behr Morton back this long if they knew he was this good.
Yeah.
Because I just took them at their word this whole time when they were saying he's not quite ready yet. But the offensive line concerns, if they said, like, hey, man, we're building this up for you. You're the future of this program.
Yeah.
We don't want to throw you back there quite yet. In combination with the games after Shuck got hurt, 5 straight ranked opponents, 3 on the road. None of those are an ideal spot to make your first career start.
Right, but Donovan was healthy.
Ish.
Healthy enough to play, start.
Kind of. They threw him in for a couple plays. So I think
they shouldn't have at the goal line.
I think they said Morton at 100% is better than Donovan at 80%. Maybe they were planning to make the transition after the bye when they could. I don't know. But after the game, I was like, the reasons y'all gave us for not playing Morton sooner,
right,
didn't appear to stand up at all. And I'm not saying coaches should always be 100% honest and give away all this strategic information to the press.
No.
But I just took them at their word this whole time, and clearly that was not the full story.
Also, you go back to the whole conversation was, well, we want a guy who protects the ball. And he had 2 straight games where Donovan had 3 turnovers.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, I mean, at that point, you're like, I just want to see Morton.
But are you going to start Morton against Texas with all the storyline behind that game? I mean,
no, and I was fine with Donovan. Donovan won the game.
Yeah.
And then in Manhattan, we had the conversation in the pregame, and somebody asked, do both quarterbacks play? And I said, well, I just want to see Morton. I still believe that Morton is the guy. I like what Donovan's done. I think Donovan is a really, really tough, mentally tough quarterback. Physically tough, mentally tough. He can make a lot of throws. Behr can make all the throws. Donovan can play forward. And he's really good at playing forward. But when you ask Donovan to play sideways or backwards a little bit, he just can't do that. He can play one way. Behr, it looks like, can play left, right, down, up, backwards, forwards, whatever.
There were a couple of obvious differences to me. And I'm not dogging Donovan. You know how I feel about him.
Yeah.
And he grinded out 2 wins that were toss-up type games. Go ahead.
You don't have to. The nature of the world today, Kyle.
I know exactly where you're going with this, and I agree 100%.
The nature of the world today is if you have a sports thought, if you have a thought, it automatically means that you hate or vehemently disagree with the opposite thought. And I've gone over this a couple of times in the last couple of weeks, but I do not have to crap all over one of the quarterbacks to then say Behr Morton should be the starter.
Yeah.
I believe now when Behr goes out and does what he does that this coaching staff did think that they had one of the best quarterback rooms in the Big 12. I believe them. But I don't have to say that Donovan Smith is hammered dog crap and should never play again and is awful and is only an athlete and should play tight end to then say that Behr Morton should start against West Virginia. I think that is so stupid. Go ahead.
Well, it's not even a lot of the people guilty of doing that. And yes, you don't have to.
Well, it's all Twitter trolls, and I shouldn't feed them, but
it's not
a
a
annoying.
zero-sum game. It's not a presidential election where you've got to be all in on one and hate the other. But it's not even correct analysis. Like, Donovan as a runner, is a straight line power guy. It's cool on 4th and 1, but he's not an evasive guy. He's not very fast. He's not quick. And so the people are like, oh, just put him out at wide receiver. He'd be the slowest wide receiver on your team. He's not getting open on any routes. Like, oh, he's just another Jet Duffy.
Right.
No, you just think they look alike from a physical appearance standpoint.
Yeah.
But their games are nothing alike.
And they
people
don't-
like
and
people
they
like
don't
that
look
know
alike.
nothing about football.
Right.
You know what I mean.
I know what you mean.
With a helmet on.
Yeah.
There's a certain segment of the population that anytime there's a quarterback who kind of looks like Donovan, think, oh, he'd be a good wide receiver. No, he wouldn't be.
He's a quarterback.
Anyway,
He did play wide receiver in high school, but that's because Tate Martell was in front of him.
you can win games with Donovan as your quarterback.
I think you can go to a bowl game.
You proved it. You beat
Yes.
Houston. And did Donovan contribute to that game being closer than it should have been? Yeah. Did he also make multiple key plays that won you that game? Yeah.
Yeah.
Texas, 0 turnovers, right?
Yeah.
You won that game as a 7-point underdog. Texas now is back in the top 20, back in the Big 12 title conversation.
And murdered Oklahoma.
You might finish the season the only Big 12 team that beat Texas. Now, that's a little bit of a bold prediction, but I think they're pretty good. And Donovan beat them.
I don't know if it's that bold.
I think you might look back on that one and be like, we might have kept Texas out of the college football playoff. And I know a lot of our listeners are Texas haters, and they want Texas to go 5-7 every year, but they look pretty freaking good to me.
Can I be honest?
Yeah.
2-loss Texas, if they went out and win the Big 12, would be argued to be in the playoff.
I tweeted it kind of as a joke, but also to circle back in December if I'm right on that.
Yeah, and not because they're deserving. Well, they would be.
But look at how easily their losses could be justified if the committee wants to go that route.
Yeah.
Oh, overtime, crazy game without their starting quarterback and 1 point versus Alabama.
With their backup quarterback in the second half.
Yep.
And it's Texas.
And like the post-game box score, Bill Conley, who does SP+, post-game box score gave Texas a 98% chance to win that game.
Yeah.
I don't think it's unfair if you zoom out, take off your red and black glasses to say that they would beat you 9 out of 10 times when you line up. And thankfully, you beat them the only time it counted when you lined up and played the game.
Right.
Not on the box score, but between the lines.
Yeah.
But I think they're better than people are giving them credit for.
I mean, if Xavier Worthy was healthy in the second half, they beat you. If they gave Bijan the ball every time that Roshan had the Wildcat, they would have beat you. Did they? No. And are they still butthurt about Joey McGuire saying that Texas Tech, the Big 12 will run through Lubbock? Yes. And you know what? We live in that world. We don't live in the other world. So I'm happy about that. And by the way, you numbskulls, you rock for brain Longhorns out there, can I clarify what Joey was saying? Eventually, the Big 12 will run through Lubbock. He didn't say immediately.
And just the sentiment was like, it's about us in this room and
Yes.
what we can control.
That was
what
a
we can
locker
do.
room speech.
Yeah.
I have a coach.
What was he supposed to say?
I have a high school coach that's a Longhorn fan that brings that up every loss. And I say, Coach, don't you talk to your team? And he's like, yeah. It's like, don't you say stuff that you don't believe in your heart today that might happen in the future? He's like, yeah, all the time. Then why can't Joey? It's like, oh, well, it was dumb for him to say. No, it wasn't. Nothing's going to run through Lubbock. You live here. Like, you hate it? Move to Austin and coach.
Well, if they do slip up again, if they lose a second Big 12 game, it wouldn't be outside the realm that Texas Tech and a game played in Lubbock keeps them out of the Big 12 championship game.
Yeah.
So, look, I know that they're butthurt over that comment, but hey,
They're so mad.
you've lined up against Joey once and you lost. He can say whatever he wants. And if we play you next year, then maybe you can prove him wrong. But in my opinion, you win, you say whatever you want.
Yeah, he says they're going to find out everything runs through Lubbock. Not everything runs through Lubbock today. That's what the text says. One of our picadors. Also, just as a point, you want to stop a locker room speech? Keep him out the end zone. You did.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, come on.
No, they don't like Joey. They did not like that speech. I talked to some UT friends.
They're terrified.
Do not like it. They're like, I lost all respect for him. Okay.
What?
Also, I never want to hear
You should gain respect after that.
I never want to hear rent-free again.
Oh,
they
my
beat their
God.
arch rival by 49.
49. They didn't score.
A record margin of victory in that series that goes back 120 years. And
they
they're
tweeted
thinking about
Texas
Joey
Tech.
McGuire.
Yeah.
So I don't want to hear that ever again.
I also want to clarify something. I don't like taking things without credit. It's not me. Sometimes it happens. I try to credit people. I thought Behr Raid was like just a thing. I thought everybody was saying it.
I only saw that once. I saw Red Baron a few times.
Yeah. So I tweeted the Behr Raid is beautiful. I thought that was like out there. But Nathan, Wade Boggs,
Oh, yeah?
he had tweeted the hashtag.
Oh, okay.
And then one of my buddies, Clint, if you're a Lubbock sports fan, you might recognize the name. if you listen to sports radio, I guess. He had texted it to me. And so I tweeted, I was like, I thought everybody was using it. And I remember that from, like, I feel like we've said that on the podcast.
I don't remember.
Talking about the Behr Raid. It's just such an easy, I just thought it was out there, so I tweeted. I wasn't trying to steal it. Anyways, the Behr Raid is out there. People in the, because what made me think this was in the comments, they were like, oh, that's brilliant. Rob killing it again. Like, I was like, no, wait, hold on. I didn't make this
I thought
up.
this was just a thing that was
Yeah,
already
I
out
thought
there.
it was out there.
Yeah.
But it's going to be. And there's going to be merch and tech will use it. And
Yeah.
yeah, it's going to be awesome. Well, because Norton Sodiase was like, oh, you did something there. And I was like, well, somebody did.
I'm not really talking about the Texas game on this segue, but before the Texas game,
Yeah.
one of the picadors asked us, is there any scenario where you lose this game and come away feeling better about it? And you and I both said, no, this is such a big game.
Yeah.
Even if you play stellar, lose by 1, there's no silver linings.
Well, you've done that already.
And I said, but the closest thing to that would be if Behr Morton somehow plays and looks like a hands down lock to be the quarterback of the present and the future. Didn't happen that game. I think it happened versus Oklahoma State. I'm actually a little bit surprised at the amount of confidence among the Texas Tech fan base and amount of certainty that Tyler Shuck is going to start versus West Virginia.
I mean, I think he will too. Should he?
I don't know how you do that. You have an opportunity right now to go into next season, no matter how the chips fall this season, for Behr Morton to have at least 7 starts if you don't make a bowl game.
Yeah.
And no quarterback controversy all offseason. They have a chance to do that right now, lock it in.
Yeah.
If they go back to Shuck, it's a total musical chairs of
Yeah.
what happens if...
That would be a bad first-year head coaching decision by Joey McGuire.
Even if Shuck is great the last 6 games, which I hope happens if he plays. He doesn't have enough tape for the NFL, so he's probably coming back. And all offseason and all of next year, if Shuck is here and healthy and starting, everyone's going to be like, where's Barron? We saw Barron light the world on fire against Oklahoma State. He's the best quarterback ever. It just seems like a really bad long-term move. And it's nothing against Shuck. I've been clamoring for Shuck since he got hurt. I thought he would be an improvement over Donovan. But now that I've seen what my eyes saw from Behr Morton, I don't know how you go any other route. Does Shuck have a higher ceiling? Does he have a higher floor?
No. Look, and I've not been a Shuck hater, but I've not been a Shuck liker. You know this. I don't think he's an improvement over Donovan. So
Hey.
I think Behr Morton's the best quarterback in the room, and they didn't think he was ready, and then they threw him out in Stillwater, and he was ready. And I don't think there's any conversation that you can have in that building to go back on what we saw.
I've got a challenge for Texas Tech fans.
Okay.
Or Big 12 fans, whoever's listening to this. After the Houston game, I put together a thread of Donovan's good plays. Plays where I said, this is great. You can't ask for more than this from your quarterback. And you and I acknowledge, yeah, three turnovers is too many. He's got to clean that up. He's got to take fewer sacks. But these throws put his talent on display. I put video proof out there for the world to see, and they can fire off crappy tweets all they want. I did the same with Behr Morton. There's maybe 8 throws in that Twitter thread that I alluded to. It's pinned at the top of our Twitter page. Go find, and this is not a shot at Tyler Shuck, find me any quarterback who's currently active in college football.
No, do it with Shuck.
From Shuck's time at Oregon, from last year,
Find one.
from spring practice, find anything. Find me his 5 best throws that he's ever made in college.
Yeah.
I'll put him up against the 5 best throws Behr Morton made in his first career start on the road against a top 10 team. And you tell me which quarterback is better.
What was your favorite Behr Morton play?
Easily when Oklahoma State is bringing 7,
Yeah.
there's nowhere to hide. You either see it and you throw hot, or you're getting sacked for a 10-yard loss on your ass. He sees it coming. As he's shuffling back on a bum leg, as he's getting hit, he throws a dart to Cleveland right in stride over the middle of the field. And the point at which he starts his throwing motion, Cleveland is not open.
No.
He sees where the window is going to be, anticipates it, could not throw it any better with a clean pocket with his feet set, and he had none of those advantages. And it's such a good throw that Cleveland gets yards after the catch.
Yeah.
It could not have been located any better. And there were others, but I mean, he threw one. It was 40 air yards on the run.
Yeah.
Right on the sideline. like Aaron Rodgers makes that throw.
This is a wrestling term, but I popped. I popped for the one over the middle. That was the second best throw.
And I have 2 camera angles on that Twitter thread.
Yeah.
Go look at both of them. It's crazy.
That's the second best throw. The best throw is that running throw where he dots it
To Bradley.
That is out of bounds.
Yeah.
Where Bradley can get it.
That's the only place where that ball is complete.
I mean, that's touch. Now, I think there's some Mahomes-esque rawness with Behr Morton.
He looks more refined than Mahomes did early on.
Well, okay, yes, he does.
He looks polished.
Well, that's all relative. Because
Mahomes was playing street ball.
yeah. No.
He was damn good at it.
Yes.
But Morton is more polished at this point in his career than Patrick was in his first year at Tech. And I know Barron's in year 2.
Well, yeah,
but first year playing.
2015.
I'm talking about 2014.
Sure.
Not a great apples to apples because Mahomes was a true freshman, Barron's a redshirt freshman.
But there's still some platform stuff
Yeah.
and some footwork stuff that I'm sure will only get better. But where I was going with that was it might not ever change. Because if you look at Patrick, it has improved, but that rawness is what makes him Patrick Mahomes.
Absolutely.
The flat foot, falling backwards, dart to Cleveland. The rolling pocket to Duran Bradley. The stuff he does out of pocket and off kilter make him a good quarterback. Now, is he also going to think that he can make that Cleveland throw twice and throw it to Cobb? Yeah.
I was also going to say on that Cleveland throw, if he's good enough to make the throw, obviously he did. But if he's too ambitious and he doesn't put quite enough on that, or if it's a little behind, it gets undercut, and that DB is probably running a
That's
long
a pick
ways.
six. Yeah.
So if he screws up that throw, it's bad. And that's where I think a lot of guys don't make that throw. He's a better runner than Mahomes. Before the injury, he's a dual threat quarterback.
Yes, he is.
He's fast, he's elusive, and that was probably my biggest con about Donovan.
He looks a lot like Mahomes after the knee injury.
Mahomes just looks like he's hobbled,
yeah.
even though he's not.
He's running like an old man. What was the defensive coordinator say? He runs like an old man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But Barron, before the injury, this was my biggest drawback on Donovan, was like, dude, the pocket is collapsing around you. That's not your fault. But you have to see it, and you have to get the hell out of there. And whether it was the clock in his head, his vision, I don't know what, it wasn't happening. Barron, multiple times, at the very least, got out and threw it away, but also sometimes he made a really good play out of it, whether running or throwing. He's more elusive, he's quicker, he's faster, he's more agile. He's a good runner. If he's healthy, he's an actual dual threat quarterback.
He got sacked 4 times?
Yeah, twice pre-injury, twice post-injury.
I would attribute 1 sack to Behr Morton not getting rid of the ball. I think the rest of them were just too fast.
When even the sacks,
or up the middle.
He kind of mitigated. Like one of them, it was a 1-yard loss because he was able to at least climb the pocket. And look, 2nd and 11 isn't great. It's worlds better than 2nd and 17. So that was maybe the biggest leap for me. The deep ball, yes. Barron is a lot better at that than Donovan was, but it's the lack of negative plays over and over. Donovan just getting sacked, missing reads, not seeing stuff in time.
Yeah.
Morton is light years ahead in those aspects.
Well, in Donovan again, you had Donovan and Dogovan, where there were moments where he caped up and looked really good.
In the same game. First half,
Yes.
first K-State. Second half, first K-State.
First quarter, second quarter.
Different guy.
Yeah. And you look at that and say, man, Donovan has all the potential in the world, but he's just not consistent. I think Behr Morton already is going to be a consistent playmaker. And I'll say this too. It's 1 game.
Don't give me that.
It's 1 game.
What more do you need to see?
Now listen. It's 1 game. I want to see the next 6 from Morton.
Oh, yeah. I mean, for sure.
I mean, I've seen, because here's the deal. I've seen 1 game from Shuck. And not a single game I could pick out against worse competition. Now, different offensive coordinator, different offense. But there's not a single game in Shuck's career that was better than that one. And Donovan at times was at least equal to Barron, but he's not put together a full game that was equal to that one, even though he won in Lubbock against Texas.
And that was kind of the delicate part with Donovan. It's like, if you play totally mistake-free,
right,
we can beat Texas by the skin of our teeth.
Yes, and he was in a position to beat Kansas State playing bad.
But we also saw the flip side of that, where it's like, okay, your mistakes kind of contributed to the loss here. And it's a team game. It's never just about the quarterback.
Yeah.
But with Barron, like, I think the floor is really high. Here's another difference that I think is night and day. Kansas State, because you can't run the ball, you try that really quick throw to the sideline. 2 receivers block and 1 receiver tries to get 5 yards, and that replaces some of your run game. Against Kansas State, Donovan just like airmailed one, like wasn't in the vicinity of the receiver.
Yeah.
So it's a negative play. You get 0 yards. Barron was like sidearming those around defenders like Mahomes.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to make that comparison because that's absurd.
No, you can't. That's what I'm talking about, that off-balance stuff.
But yeah, like he's making those. They are high velocity. They're getting there in time. You didn't have any just ugly throws like, well, man, he just really missed the mark on that one. On the short ones, like, at or behind the line of scrimmage.
And again, if he's the best quarterback you've had since Patrick Mahomes, why was he not starting? I just don't understand that.
I don't know.
Now, I get a lot of it. I get the he's a freshman. I get the we started Shuck, and I get the Donovan at this highest. And Donovan is the most durable, I guess. So, hey, let's go get Donovan beat up because we don't want the other guy to get beat up. I can make that make sense. But, man, I wish Behr Morton would have gotten at least some drives earlier.
It's really hard for me to temper my expectations now. And I get the 1 game sample size argument. Yeah. And in career start number 3 and 4, is he going to make some boneheaded throw? Yeah. But I don't need any additional sample size to understand that his talent is off the charts, NFL draft pick type talent.
Is he better than JT Daniels today?
Yes.
Is he better than Blake Shapen?
Yes.
Is he better than...
I'll save you some time. I think Quinn Ewers and him are the 2 most talented quarterbacks in the conference.
Okay.
Now, most talented. Can a quarterback who's less talented, like JT Daniels, who is more experienced, play a better game? Yes. Because as we've learned this season, taking care of the ball is a big part of this. Decision-making is a big part of this.
Jalen Daniels maybe, JT not.
But as far as who's the best quarterback in a vacuum, who am I buying stock in? It's Behr Morton with little to no competition. His only competition is like the highest ranked recruit who ever came out of high school. And it's probably going to be a first-round draft pick in the NFL. That's the only guy I would put on his level.
Quick thought on Joey McGuire. Wait, final thought on Behr Morton. Do you have any more? Because I have one more.
No, I'm truly blown away. And I was, honestly, when I was making that thread, struggling to find like different words that I hadn't said already. I was said like, this is stupid. This is absurd. This is unreal. This is insanely talented. And I just ran out of words to describe what I was looking at.
Yeah.
He is incredible. That's my final thought is just I'm blown away at how good he was.
Going back to Mahomes, this made me think of Mahomes. I think it was 2015. Do you remember the throw that made you like, okay, Mahomes is like different? Now, he had a big game against Baylor in 2014.
Yeah.
And he had some like big numbers in 2014, but I remember the throw where I was like, okay, this cat is legit and like NFL guy.
I remember it was in Ames. I think it was to Lauderdale.
That was in Lubbock in 2015.
No. I'm talking about 2014. He started that game and you won in Ames. It was a rocket launcher throw, like in the cold, in Ames.
Yeah, I don't remember this.
Hits Lauderdale and stride. I'll find it just because it'd be funny or interesting to put it side by side with whatever throw you're going to say. But that's when I was like, okay, this guy.
So mine's also against Iowa State, but it's 15.
Is it to Reggie Davis in the back of the end zone?
It's not the deep one.
Okay.
That might have been a Jonathan Giles. Is that the one you're talking about? It's going the other way. He is running to his left.
I think this is La Tech 2016 that you're describing.
No, that was the Giles one.
That's Giles.
That's La Tech. That one is shown all the time.
Yeah, and that is an insane throw.
This one is Iowa State in Lubbock 2015. He is Well, that's if it's even. It'd be an even year. Iowa State must have been 14.
In 2015, Iowa State was here.
Oh, because they're wearing names this year.
Yeah.
Anyways, he's running left, and he throws it back, like zips it into a window where the guy's falling down, and he throws it to the guy. It's like nobody else is making that throw.
I think off of his wrong foot as well.
Yeah, he's dead sprint left, and throws it back right on a rope. Like, that's the kind of stuff that Barron can do that not a lot of people are doing. Now, has he done that yet? No. My final thought, though, on Barron, before we just call him the next Patrick Mahomes, because that's not true yet. Let's get a few plays in, right? One of my favorite plays, though, and what made me spark this was like, okay, nobody else is doing that. The touchdown run.
Yeah.
He holds that mesh point until the guy's getting tackled and still pulls the ball out and walks in the end zone.
He kind of broke a tackle a little bit at the line of scrimmage, too.
I mean, Patrick Mahomes was not a good runner, and he had 10 touchdowns. You looked at me funny.
I was going to ask you, how fast is Patrick Mahomes?
As fast as he needs to be. But he had 10 rushing touchdowns, I think, in both years as starter.
Yeah.
Part of the reason why he has the highest touchdown number of any quarterback in just 2 years, it's because he threw for 50 and ran for 10. Like, he had insane numbers. Barron is the kind of guy who has that je ne sais quoi, that feel, man. And I don't want to get too high on Barron because it's not like, okay, Barron starts, you go 6-0, Shuck starts, you go 2-4. Because I don't think that. I think you're going to a bowl with any quarterback that's out there. And today, more than any time in the last 6 weeks, I've actually believed the coaches that said that you have the best quarterback room in the Big 12.
Let me ask you this. Before I ask you this, part of what made Mahomes a real threat in the red zone running the ball, he was really good at extending the play and freezing defenders, making them cover guys.
Fake, yeah.
And at the last second, he would just run in. Is there any realistic outcome this season besides 6-6 or 7-5 in the regular season? Or is it probably 70% that it's one of those two outcomes?
You've not lost at home yet, and I think all 4 of those are winnable. Iowa State can't score.
Yeah.
And your other road game might be the toughest game you have is TCU.
I'll rephrase it this way. If Shuck starts and plays healthy for the last 6 games or Morton starts the last 6 games, is there more than a 1-win discrepancy between those two options?
No.
So if that's the case, and I agree with you, why not give the guy who is obviously the future NFL draft pick and the future of this program the experience of starting the next 6 games?
I said this when I didn't have any film on Barron.
I'm not phrasing that question to you. I'm phrasing it to the coaching staff. What is the logic behind that?
Double down. Triple down.
If you're going to go 7-5 with either quarterback, why not make it the guy that is clearly not just the quarterback of the future, the focal point of this program for the next 2 years?
Yeah.
Everything will be built around him.
I would never start a guy so that he didn't transfer.
But
I would play Behr Morton to make damn sure he's here next year, right?
Yes.
Because I don't want to say, hey, Barron, hey, man, you're good, but we don't trust you yet. I can't say.
Why not at this point?
Because before the game, you can say that because you hadn't seen him on the field. But now that you've seen him on the field, you can't say that. You can't.
Yeah.
And if Shuck comes in and doesn't look good, I mean, he's got a short leash, right?
It really would make you kind of question, okay, you had 3 options at your disposal throughout this season at different times. Different guys were healthy. And every time you had Behr Morton healthy, you went with a different option. Even though he wound up being the best option of the 3, that kind of makes you wonder about the judgment decision-making. Is that fair?
It's hard to call it the decision-making, but it makes me question the planning. Yeah. The program planning.
And if Behr Morton's tape from Oklahoma State was the exact same as it was, but he had 2 more interceptions, then I would go, okay, yeah, the talent is there. The ceiling is insanely high, but I see why they would go with Shuck because he'll take care of the ball, and he might win you more games. But that's not the case.
Morton played safe, man. He did.
And Shuck, when he has played, has turned the ball over. He's not some automatic never turn the ball over guy. He got sacked a decent amount.
And
2 pick sixes.
Can you play a thought experiment with me?
Yes, I would love to.
Cumby's the OC. Matt Wells is the head coach. You come out flat. It's Stephen F. Austin. Do you need a fourth down stand if true freshman Behr Morton's out there?
That game is kind of a blur to me.
Well,
I know where you're going with it. I feel like I was in a state of, am I really watching this? I don't actually recall much from that game. But your point is well taken.
It just like, okay, Donovan comes in on third down or whatever it was. Guy's in his face. He throws it. Like, let's say that's Patrick, okay? Patrick pump fakes, grips the ball, and then walks in, right? Or flips it. Do you think Behr Morton on the spectrum of Patrick to Donovan on that play?
He's closer to Patrick.
And again, to me, that's just like, I don't know why. Why do we need to play both quarterbacks?
We don't. we don't.
Okay. I feel like we're just going to keep repeating the same points.
I could sit here and talk about Behr Morton for the next 4 hours.
Yeah.
I freaking love him.
Welcome. I'm going to...
No, don't give me that.
I feel like I was always... maybe I was just always anti-Shuck, and that played into the pro-Morton stuff.
I want to say one more thing on Morton, and then I swear I'll shut up about this. There is something to be said. It doesn't show up in the stats or anything. It matters, though. Oh, I'll ask you this. Did you ever play baseball?
Yep, till fourth grade.
You watch baseball.
I do.
When they make a pitching change, and the reliever comes out, he's warming up. When it hits the glove and it pops, and you hear it in the stadium,
yes,
that makes a difference.
There's
right?
a zip, man.
Okay.
There's a zip.
Does it matter when, a completion goes for 20 yards, it goes for 20 yards, whatever. That's what it shows up as in the box score. But Behr Morton throws a pretty ball. Like mechanics, the way the ball comes out of his hand, it's not going to look any better than that.
Yeah.
And that matters. To me, that is a sign of insane talent.
Kyle, we weren't there. You watched the game twice.
Yes. A little bit more if you count some highlights here and there. Call it 2.5 times.
You've watched at least twice.
Yeah.
Watched through. And you probably watched the second time a bunch of times.
Yeah, I rewound a lot.
That first drive. And remind me to get back to the Joey Maguire point. I still have it in my head.
Yeah, me too.
I'm trying to be delicate, man.
No.
Did the players respond better to Barron? Because you started flat as hell in your 2 road games, and I can, you know what? I can do it with the Joey Maguire point. Because Joey Maguire, Joey Lytics, right? You're not even close in that game if you don't convert that first 4th down. Now, you might win if you punt later to make them go 90 instead of whatever, but you're not even in the game if you don't convert that first one. That's the whole point with Joey. Like, you're going to get Joey. I loved the first 4th down conversion, so I'm not going to hate the late one.
Yeah.
Because you can't, it's not outcome based, it's decision based. Mm-hmm. And I thought both times the decision was good. The play calling, I think, still, and we have a question in the Discord about the play calling, but the play calling is still a little bit, I think you're still trying to figure out what your roster is if you're Zach Kitley. But to my point, the team just seemed to respond to Barron, right? Being in there is fresh, right?
Am I allowed to share some inside info from Friday before the game? When you and I got texts and calls?
Yeah, let's do it.
It started with text messages from 2 different people that Behr Morton was starting. And that was hush hush. We tweeted an acronym.
Yeah, we both did.
That the kid from Eastland is starting today.
I tweeted Johnny Manziel gif.
But I got a call after those text exchanges, and the guy who called me said, Behr Morton is starting, and the team is fired up. Apparently the guys are fired up for it, I think was his exact phrasing. Not that they were out on Donovan, but maybe they just wanted a change. They wanted a spark. So I don't think you're off base. If that sentiment that person relayed to me is true, I think there's something to that. And like I said, the chemistry with the receivers seemed like a surprise, but maybe it wasn't surprising to people that were within the program.
All right.
Also, can I say one more thing on that?
Yeah.
I wish we were allowed to just go viral on Twitter. I wish we could have on Friday night said Behr Morton starting tomorrow, but we were asked not to. So.
Yeah. Look, if that's true, and I was not aware of that. I feel like you get more news than I do. Well, from different. Your guy gives you more. My guy gives me more. So I'm not going to complain. I'm not complaining. I'm not. I love the guy. I love your guy. I love my guy.
I'll have my guy call your guy.
Yeah. We might. Well.
Just sorry, I didn't mean to derail you.
Yeah. What I was going to say was,
if that's true.
If that's true, right? If what I saw on the field, the team being more fired up for Behr Morton being out there. If it's true that before the game, these guys are fired up that Behr's going to be the leader. The team knows. The fans know. Joey has to know. Right?
And
Shuck's never going to play again.
to add to that, do you think that Barron, if that sentiment is true,
Behr knows
that the team, well,
Barron's always
that's
known.
not where I'm going with it.
He wore a red blazer when he was coming.
No, that's not where I'm going with it.
Okay, sorry.
But if the team was ready to rally in support of Behr Morton, do you think he reciprocated that with his toughness, moxie, energy? I mean,
Yeah.
the color guy was begging for them to pull him out of the game.
Yeah.
Like, this guy can barely walk. And he was overdramatic.
Right.
Different tangent.
His
But
leg is falling off.
If
Yeah.
Barron's teammates were ready to go all out, all in on him, I think seeing him limp around and still lead some successful drives in the second half reciprocated that. And that's not that Donovan wouldn't have. We've seen Donovan tough through a lot of stuff.
Yeah. He toughed the last 2 weeks.
But-
apparently.
Like, if Morton wasn't, I guess, tough enough to answer that kind of call, then maybe it makes some of those guys doubt the energy that they were willing to bring for Barron. But I think he answered the call. Absolutely.
And they left him in. And I guess if Donovan was healthy, he would have gone back out there probably for those last 4 or 5 drives. But you said earlier that, 100% Barron was better than 80% Donovan? Well, 80% Barron was better than 80% Donovan. And that's
by
why they
halftime,
left him
that
in
was-
there.
yeah.
Yeah. That's why they left him in there. Now, again, I'm not out on the coaching staff if Shuck starts against West Virginia. But I'm not holding back in my, 15 hours of sports radio that I do or on this podcast. Behr Morton should be the starter. And if Behr Morton goes out and throws 3 picks in the first half, you know what? Behr Morton should be the starter. And if West Virginia beats you, you know who should start against Baylor? Behr freaking Morton. The guy is the future. I don't want to mess around anymore. All right? I think that Behr Morton can win all 6 games. I think he'll probably go 3-3, 4-2 to finish the year. You will be in a bowl game. If you are looking, right, at these kids you're recruiting, and you want a solid plan for the future, don't you want to tell these receivers, hey, this is the guy you're playing for next year?
Yeah.
Like, hey,
Yeah.
kid with 10-10 speed, don't you want to catch a deep ball from this guy?
That matters.
I don't want to sit here and say Tyler Shuck's going to play this next 6 games, and then Zach Kitley gets another gold star on his resume because he sends another guy to the NFL. I want to play for 2023, and Behr Morton getting reps is the best for 2023.
I don't know what these people are thinking who say Shuck is going to come back, put 6 games of film out there, and go to the NFL.
No.
Do you know some of the guys who haven't been drafted after what they put on tape in college? Like,
Shuck's 6'5" and looks like a quarterback.
it's not a shot at Shuck, but like,
I got plenty of shots at Shuck.
Whose NFL draft board is he going to be on if he comes back and starts these last 6 games?
The Vikings.
And plays like he did, I hope so. Plays like he did against Houston last year, let's say.
Yeah.
He's not going to be on anybody's radar.
But only the second half, and he only completed balls to Eric Izukama.
I mean, he's in a draft class with Bryce Young, C.J. Stroud.
Yeah.
It's not happening. And so, again,
Will Levin or whatever his name is from
if you
Kentucky.
go down that route,
Will Rogers.
Shuck has to be your starter next year, right?
Yeah.
Then what are we doing?
We're not doing it.
I'm with you. And I've been branded as like the McGuire guy because of how higher McGuire I was.
Right.
And I love the hire. I'm still all in on it. But that's not to say if he coaches here for 10 years, he and I are never going to disagree on something.
Now,
and I would disagree with him on this.
Well, what's Morton's health? Morton's health.
I want to clarify
and all this leg stuff.
I want to clarify. I'm not taking credit for starting hire McGuire or getting him hired. I'm just saying that I was all in on that bandwagon.
You did start it though.
No, I don't think that's fair to say.
Well, on Twitter, you tweeted.
I started on Twitter.
You started the hashtag.
But since like 2016.
No, but off air, you always tell me how big of a part you played.
It's been on the message boards for years. Anyway, all that to say, I was very supportive of the hire, advocated for the hire before it happened.
Right. Yeah.
So people are like,
yeah, I mean, you convinced me about it.
Some people think that I would not ever question Joey, but if Behr Morton is not the starter,
well, I think you and I are, positive people, and we try to be positive. But you know what else we are?
Real,
honest, genuine. So I don't think that there's any like sunshine pumping or like we're not just two fans here, right? And I talked about this when we played Texas. Or I don't get the t-shirt fan thing because I didn't go to Tech. I'm not sitting here just talking about Texas Tech because I got a degree from there and that's all I want to do, right? No, I have a job to talk about and cover Texas Tech in Lubbock, and I grew up as a Texas Tech fan, but I don't have any like just blind loyalty to Texas Tech. And starting Tyler Shuck is a bad decision. And if everyone's healthy, if it comes out that Behr Morton didn't just get hit in the shin, it's just a bruise or it's like a MCL or something, which knock on wood that everything's clear. But if he's like legit injured, then fine. Do you know who I would start against West Virginia? Donovan Smith. Because I don't think Tyler Shuck's very good.
I'd start Shuck over Donovan. If they're both fully healthy.
Yeah, and hopefully you have all three healthy and it's a difficult decision and you go back to it. But all I'm saying is, legitimately, if everyone's healthy, Behr Morton should be the starter.
100% agreed.
Have we spent too much time on Behr Morton?
I could argue not enough.
This off the text line. What's this? The Raider Land. The Picador chat says no more experiments. I agree.
What does that mean?
When we were talking about the quarterbacks, like, do we want to see if Donovan? Can we see if Shuck? Can we see what Barron has? Like, there's no more experience. It's just Barron's the best guy. Play Barron.
Yeah.
I want to see Morton perform against a team that has prepared for him. OSU prepared for Smith.
Yeah, and that's what, look, there's going to be tape on him and his tendencies, like that he's really good rolling to his right, and so teams might bring an extra rusher off the right side to make him roll left.
Oklahoma State brought 7, 6, 5 on nearly every play in the second half.
So, yeah, it's a fair criticism. Like I said, there's going to be growing pains. He's going to take his lumps as a guy making his second, third, fourth career start.
Yeah.
But
so do the other two.
That's inevitable.
So do the other two.
Patrick Mahomes and Brett Favre and Peyton Manning all made their second career start at some point.
Yeah, and Mahomes looked, all the way through 2015, even through 2016. He's throwing pick sixes to end the rally against Oklahoma State. He's throwing a pick against Texas at home to end the rally. Mahomes, for every great thing he did, there was, what is it, the equal and opposite reaction? So there's surely going to be some of that for Morton, but, Donovan didn't?
You have to live with it.
Shuck didn't?
You take that with his insane talent and say, there's going to be growing pains, but we're going to ride through it.
This one also, I just want to see him shred a defense that had prepared for him before I anoint him king of West Texas.
You can be patient if you want. I've seen enough.
You're getting out the oil.
I'm not a one-game sample size guy. I saw what I saw. There were throws there that are just crazy for anybody to make, much less a redshirt freshman in his first career start on the road against a top 10 team. So I've seen enough, and I welcome everybody else onto the bandwagon once they've seen enough. The first drive, I saw enough.
You ready for the Discord mailbag?
Yeah, Discord mailbag sponsored by our friends over at Diversified Lenders. You can learn more about them at diversifiedlenders.com. Local Lubbock company, family Red Raider owned and operated. They will help your business get the cash it needs to operate now. How do you qualify to submit a question for the Discord mailbag?
Oh, you go to patreon.com and sign up and pay the $5 fee. It's very cheap. Portion of that goes to the Matador Club, which I was going to talk to you. Do we up? Because we send a certain amount. Do we up that amount? Are we close to it? I think we're close to upping the amount.
We were incredibly aggressive starting out. We were sending
That's true.
a majority of the Patreon money. So I'm fine
Catching
with
up a little bit.
keeping it steady for now.
Okay.
But hey, even
If we get 30 more Patreons, we'll double the Matador Club payment. Is that fair?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So 30 more, we'll double our payment to the Matador Club. I think that gets us to a certain number. Whatever that number is that I'm thinking of, you know what it is.
Even if you're a hater of the podcast,
we'll do that. Yeah.
your money goes to a good cause. So
Yeah.
come one, come all.
Absolutely. And it's a free chat. You want a Discord, we can bring anybody in.
Yeah.
We did want another guy the Picadors are like masochist. They want us to start bench cut another group.
Is that like a new tradition?
I guess. I don't know that we need to do that.
Okay.
Start bench cut Shuck, Donovan, and Barrymore.
Start Barron, bench, Shuck, cut Donovan.
I'm benching Donovan and cutting Shuck.
Did you know that we caught like half a stray on Discord? Isn't quite a message board, but on a message board.
Oh, did we?
Yeah.
Half a stray.
Yeah. So I'll
So
explain it.
somebody strayed me. And then,
No, it was like a backhanded compliment / insult at the Gauchos.
Oh, that's fair.
Because the Red Raider sports guys, they do a podcast called From Here It's Potable. But
Yeah.
they're like super inconsistent with when it comes out. So sometimes it's like once every 3 weeks.
Right.
And this guy was like, man, when you guys don't publish, I have to listen to Gambling Gauchos while I'm driving my kids to daycare. And I was like, well, I guess I'm flattered you chose us over the other options. But also the way you phrase that is like,
Yeah.
geez, I'm stuck with these guys. So
You could listen to. That's
radio.
fine.
Yeah, I was like, I mean, it didn't sound
There's
like
a lot
super
of-
complimentary, but
Yeah.
you have other options and you chose us. So I guess that's cool.
Well, there's 42 Texas Tech podcasts.
Yeah.
You know, and I
But
listen
anyway.
to a lot of them.
People, hey, not everybody's going to like our podcast.
Right.
That's okay. Just doing the best we can here.
Picador says, I thought for sure I'd be cut again, even though I wasn't in the group.
Who said that?
Who you cut last time?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we can cut him anyway. Double cut.
Oh, dang, he's right here,
He
man.
asked for it.
Did he?
Yeah.
You're a sweet soul, man. About to record, send them in. All right, that's the first. Now, a lot of these, I'm going all the way back. Is Dana done with Tech?
Dana Beers.
Yeah.
When I first saw that, I thought it was Holgerson because I think that was Friday night while the
Right.
Houston game was on. I was like, what? No, he's just taking his visits. So he's going to be all about Cincinnati while he's in
Yeah.
Cincinnati. And
All right, so, like Dana, I do. I liked the exposure he brought to Texas Tech. I hope he is. Dana Beers is not tough enough to be a Red Raider. I said this in the Discord. I believe it.
really?
Yeah. Okay. I didn't go to Tech. We just talked about this. And I'm not saying I'm tougher than Dana Beers, but I've put 30 years of my life into this. I've seen the highs. I've seen the lows. And you know what? I'm still here. It's a lot more than some can say. And I'm still all in, right? I was all in on Matt Wells the third year until that This Is Personal bull came in.
Now it's personal.
Now it's personal. like it wasn't the first 2.5
Now we're fired
years.
up to go try and win some games.
Now we're fired up.
And then you lose 70 to 35
So there it is.
after it's personal. I'll say this look, Dana has these visits, they're sponsored trips, so I'm not going to fault him for taking those. But also at some point, I want to hit him with the Spike Dykes quote and be like, if you have to beg a guy, he already saw an amazing game day atmosphere experience. Yeah. He met Coach McGuire, he met Ric Flair.
Yeah, if you don't want to be here, don't want to be
What
here.
more do you need to see? So take your visits, but if you're not all in on tech, then adios.
And he's going to see a lot of cool, tailgate scenes and all this. And I think Texas Tech is a good tailgating scene. But, I mean, you're going to these national ones. And I'm not saying that Tech's a top 20, top 30 tailgate scene. And I think they know that. And they're trying to improve it. I mean, you've seen the last 2 years with the Raider Alley and all that. So, oh, man, they can see me on the cam, right? The camo's not working. Let's see. This on Dana. He says he won't make us good at football. That's true.
Yeah,
he doesn't do anything.
Can he block?
I can't play left tackle. Steven says, hope you're feeling better, Rob. Thank you. I was out of it last night. Kyle did the GAD by himself. Get your questions in. All right. If all three quarterbacks are 100% healthy, who starts against West Virginia?
Morton.
Everybody says Morton. Did you feel as though Kitley's play calling improved yesterday?
Improved, yes. Satisfactory, not quite. Couple spots. And I'll give Kitley some leeway here. I'm like, after you're inside the 5, just run the ball 4 times and see what happens.
Yeah.
You obviously don't have the personnel to do that.
Right.
So I understand there are limitations there, but especially, I think it was when the game was tied, 31-31, you get the ball into plus territory. It's 3rd and 1. You go tempo. Serrato gets stuffed. You run Serrato again on 4th and 2 and don't get it. I'm kind of like, can we, I've tweeted this multiple times. Can we get under center and fall forward for a yard? Yes or no?
Yeah.
If
that's
no,
when you bring Donovan in.
Yeah. If no, then okay. Then you also probably shouldn't run from the shotgun right up the gut where you were going to go on the QB sneak.
Right.
So that part is still frustrating to me. I did not like the call to bring in Donovan on 3rd down. If you want to bring him in on 1st down and run the series of downs with him, sure. On 3rd down, not a fan. Leave Morton in the game at that point. You have a better passing threat because at that point
he got you there.
At that point, when you put Donovan in, everybody knows what's coming.
Yeah.
That's why I didn't like it.
I will also contend that the play calling was the same.
There were still
Behr
times,
just ran the offense better.
There were still times where you were in 11 personnel with the tight end on the line. You've got 6 on 5, and you're choosing not to run the ball. And I know you're not good at running the ball, but if there's any look where you can be confident that you're going to get 4 or 5 yards,
87 yards.
That's it.
Is Tosh Brooks hurt?
I don't know. He played.
I know, but he's not looked good in 3 weeks here.
I think he's the kind of runner that needs holes in the middle to get north-south. Serrato gets way better at being patient, improvising, better in space. And that's not a knock on Taj. I think they're 1 and 1A, just different types of backs, and Serrato, I think, fits your personnel better.
What are the realistic expectations for this team moving into the second half? So 3-3 through the first 6, but you get 4 home games in the back half. Oklahoma, you'll be favored against.
Yeah, if
everything
changes.
holds. I think you'll be favored against West Virginia. I think you will be favored against Kansas.
I think you'd be a 3 or 4 point dog to Baylor today.
And then maybe a pick 'em against Iowa State because it's in Ames.
If I gave you, of the 4 home games, told you right now 3 and 1, take it or roll the dice, what do you do?
I would take it.
Okay.
But I'm kind of I'd think real hard about it.
Because
I would think real, because you can win all 4.
Realistically, though, if you're setting a total, it would probably be 2.5 wins in that stretch because they're all toss-up type games.
Yeah. Yes.
You'll be a slight favorite over 2.
I would take 3 and 1 because that's a bowl.
I'd probably, have to think long and hard about rolling the dice on anything that could leave you out of the bowl picture.
Right.
And that still leaves the 2 road games for you to roll the dice and maybe get 1 or 2 more in Ames or in Fort Worth.
You know what I would do if I was Joe McGuire?
What's that?
I would announce Behr Morton as the starter tomorrow. And then sell the hell out of West Virginia and the tickets as another chance to see Behr Morton. Because my next question, and I wrote about this today, how many games are you going to sell out this year? You have 2 on the books with Texas and Baylor. I think Oklahoma will be one.
I'm just not sure on that because it's Thanksgiving weekend with the students gone. I just don't know what that'll look like. And they're not going to be a big draw. Like
it's the last time.
Yeah.
And you'll beat them.
I'll be there.
And you can say, hey, when's the last time you beat Texas and Oklahoma in the same season at home?
Never?
Never.
Tell Spike I'll be there.
2022 is the last time you did it.
But hey, no, going back to preseason, when they were doing this quarterback competition charade that I knew was a charade,
Right.
I was like, the team needs to know.
Right. Oh, yeah. Well, the team knows.
They need to have their guy. And like, yeah, they know like implicitly.
Yeah.
But I'm with you. I don't want this to be like, well, we'll see how the bye week goes and see where everybody's at with their injuries.
Healthy, yeah.
Just say, if Barron's healthy, he's the starter.
Also, you're not scared of West Virginia, right? You don't need to let West Virginia game plan for somebody else.
They're still number 10 in the Big 12 power rankings, right?
Yeah. If Barron's named the starter, do you sell out West Virginia?
Not
It's a
necessarily.
convenient question.
I think people are overestimating how many casual type fans are in the 60,000.
It's just yes or no.
They might
Like
not
Tech's playing, yes or no.
they might not be able to name the 3 quarterbacks, much less know or care which one is starting.
Power rank the Vikings playoff game field goal misses.
Like worst of all time would have to be 1998. You were 15-1 that season.
Man, that one against the Seahawks.
Record setting off, but that wasn't even. This is NFC Championship game.
Right.
Kicker was, I think, 23 for 23 on the year, and he misses. Gary Anderson. That has to be the worst because you would have gone to the Super Bowl. I've seen the Vikings lose 3 NFC Championship games in my lifetime, so that's tough. The Seahawks one was a chip shot, and I think you had Carolina the week after that. They were the 1 seed, but I thought they were overrated, and they lost in the Super Bowl. I thought you could have had a realistic shot to make a Super Bowl run there. I know I'm missing others. There were also regular season ones to get to the playoffs that you missed. Not a franchise known for clutch kicks.
Allowing freshman and sophomore quarterbacks to change the play reminds me of Road to Glory on NCAA when you play quarterback and just audible out of every jet sweep. I never ran if I played quarterback. Sometimes.
It didn't look like Barron had that authority.
He walked up to the line a couple times.
Well, they would line up, do the hard count, and then he would look back to the sideline. So I think Kitley was adjusting the play. I don't think Barron was allowed to look out of the defense and then tell the receivers, no, run something different.
Yeah. This Picador says, I do like a good authentic chicken mole. Mole. The accent mark's not there. Yeah, and Donovan, okay. Did y'all circle back to the Joey thought? Yes. I like Joey Lytics on decision-based, not outcome-based. So,
although I will say the outcomes are routinely giving your opponents really good field position.
They have.
And when you do force your opponent to go 75 or 80 yards, you have a pretty good success rate defensively. It's when you do a failed onside.
Yeah, but if you punt on the first drive, you lose all momentum.
Right. I'm talking about after that.
You know what we missed?
What's that?
That effing onside kick where the guy slips and they said he called a fair catch.
He called a fair catch.
He slipped.
He called a fair catch.
I would like to see that
as
again.
soon as Kobe Minor catches the ball, he turns to the ref and is like, I waved my hand.
No.
They showed the replay, different angles. He calls a fair catch.
I need to see that again. That's a Bush League.
That's not something to gripe about.
Oh, I'm griping.
Although there were questionable calls like there are in any game.
The DPI or OPI?
I think they let, for the most part, the secondaries be really physical with the receivers and vice
that crew
versa.
was fine.
They called one hold on Dadrian Taylor Demerson. Jaron Bradley, his defender got flagged in the end zone for holding or pass interference. But for the most part, they let him play. And so I can't gripe if it's pretty consistent.
Yeah. Yeah. He slipped. Will OU be bowl eligible this year? Currently 3-3. They have Kansas, Iowa State, Baylor, West Virginia, Oklahoma State, Texas Tech left.
FPI and K Ford ratings both have 6-6 is kind of their median outcome at this point. So that's their make or break, over under, however you want to phrase it. You might have 2 5-6 teams fighting for bowl eligibility on the final game of the season. Is that fair?
I think it's more likely that Oklahoma's 5-6. But yes, that's fair. Piggybacking, will OU finish below Kansas? It's a chock full Discord mailbag.
Ask me after Saturday. If they lose to Kansas, yeah. That's the last game that they're favored to win right now, per a lot of these
By
analytic
9.
sources. And it's in Norman. I'm curious what the crowd is going to look like. They're known for selling out every single game.
In Norman, yeah.
At what point do the folks in Norman say, you know what, I don't need to make a Saturday out of this to go watch us maybe beat Kansas?
This from Chase. Is Chase a beautiful man?
No.
He's got a great beard. Does he have the best beard in the Discord?
That I know of, yeah. So, some people are kind of
Well,
anonymous.
Briggsy has a solid beard.
Yeah. Well, and some are not. We have no
Well, he's
clue
a
who
silver fox.
some of the people are.
Yeah.
But yeah, very, very solid facial hair.
I think he has a better beard than you.
Yeah, I don't have a good beard, so that's not saying much. You're underselling him there.
My beard's probably the worst, if you even call it that.
I won't argue with you on that.
Somebody once said, I'm not going to say that on here. I'll tell you later. This directly to me was that a weird sentence to write. Today I wrote about the 5 things I learned about Texas Tech from the game in Stillwater. And I said, Oklahoma State might have the best offense in the conference, but they'll need to be better, talking about the Texas Tech defense in the final 6 games of the season if Texas Tech wants to finish strong. TCU and Kansas have both shown strong offenses, but Texas Tech will be able to shine defensively against West Virginia, Iowa State, and Oklahoma. Not a weird sentence at all. In fact, I've been pretty clear that I thought the Kansas offense was really good since the beginning. And I said in week, 2 or 3, that Jalen Daniels was the best quarterback in the Big 12?
They had a stretch of 8 quarters with Jalen Daniels where they only scored 3 touchdowns.
To be fair, I said that before the Iowa State game. Kind of bailed after the Iowa State game.
Then Jason Bean scores 3 touchdowns in 1 quarter.
Yeah, and he threw for 4 touchdowns?
I don't remember if he got a 4.
So he was a starter almost all last year.
Yeah.
But
He
Jalen
looks like
Daniels
a different guy. He was
yeah.
he was a bum last year, but he was really solid against TCU.
Yeah, well, and again, similar to Behr Morton, he's not going to go out, right? So if you finally get your shot, you're dropping it and leaving it all out there, right?
Yeah.
What are you wearing?
You already touched on it. My NFC Central 1998 Division Champs Vikings hat.
Just showing you the GIF.
Vikings
You
quarterback.
missed it.
Yeah, I saw it.
Okay.
Vikings quarter zip, Vikings socks, and khakis, like Jake from State Farm.
Khakis.
Khakis.
He sounds hideous. I'm wearing Under Armour, Nike shoes, Under Armour tights, Under Armour shorts. I was at the gym, no big deal. Saints Super Bowl shirt and a sleeveless, well, it's a short sleeve hoodie, camo.
You wearing a hoodie?
What do you think of Gundy saying that's not good to Morton being a freshman when Gundy asked how old he was?
I think Gundy saw what I saw, and Gundy's a really good football coach, and he knows that Behr Morton is an insanely talented quarterback.
I trust that Mike Gundy knows quarterbacks. Which
Is this PG-13?
Yes,
Okay.
I just was laughing. Okay, this is from we're already talking. This is okay. Which quarterback would make the best tight end if he couldn't pass the ball again? And I don't know if this is just from Texas Tech or period.
I'm going to troll.
Tim Tebow. Are we
but-
going Texas Tech
Yeah,
quarterback?
I'm sure they meant Texas Tech quarterback.
It just says which quarterback.
I'm sure it's Texas Tech quarterback. I'm going to troll and say Shuck.
Behr Morton has the most snaps at tight end.
I'm going to troll and say Shuck.
Yeah.
He's still big. I saw Shuck at like a kickoff lunch. I was like, holy crap. Like,
Yeah,
he looks
he's
like a linebacker.
He's faster than
He's faster
Donovan.
than Donovan. Like Donovan's taller, probably a little bit bigger. Everybody wants you to say Donovan. I'll troll and say Shuck
Yeah.
would be a better tight
I'll
end.
say Behr Morton has the most experience at tight end, and this coaching staff loves experience.
Yeah.
Yeah, he clarifies Texas Tech quarterbacks. Who's your favorite fathlete? All time? Bam Bam Bigelow. off the board there a little bit.
I mean, can I use a conventional like fullback tight end as a fathlete, or does it have to be a?
Well, it's 250 is the cutoff.
I think Klein Saucer was in that neighborhood.
Yeah.
Can I go Klein Saucer?
I remember Klein Saucer.
A lot of really good Vikings defensive linemen.
Yeah.
Who I loved: Jared Allen,
Not a fathlete.
Chris Hovan, John Randall, the Williams brothers, Pat and
Yeah,
Kevin
John
Williams.
Randall, fathlete.
So they've had some really cool defensive linemen while I've been a fan.
Larry Allen, probably all-time football player, fathlete. Have you ever seen him run down the interception?
Yes, but it's overshadowed by him goofing around and getting that blocked field goal stripped out of his hands.
That was Leon Lett.
Oh, yeah. Okay, yeah. You're
Larry
right.
Allen's
My
the
bad,
guard.
my bad. Yeah. Yeah, different guy.
That was Leon Lett, yeah.
That's the fun. It's like, dude, this
Yeah.
is your one chance.
Right.
And you blew it.
You blew it.
Screwing around, holding the ball behind his back.
Yeah. Is there a way that Venables gets fired for football-related performance only this season?
I mean, there is semi-serious conversation about buying out Jimbo at $85 million. I don't know what kind of donor presence OU has, but if his buyout is $15 million and they're 4-8,
Yeah.
and guys are threatening to hit the portal and their recruiting class is falling apart,
That would be back-to-back recruiting classes that fell apart,
and there's an easy answer to right the ship temporarily.
Yeah.
Bob Stoops. They could fire him and say, Bob, give us a friendly hometown deal, $1.5 million per year, right the ship for us for 3 years as we transition to the SEC.
Well, yeah, but he's
Then we'll hire a new coach.
he's got a job.
The booth will be waiting for him when he's done.
No. He's got a coaching job. XFL, baby. It's back. He's not going to leave the Dallas Desperados.
And he coached him in the Alamo Bowl against Oregon last season.
Yeah.
I don't know what Venables' buyout is, but if it gets bad enough, never say never. I mean, coaches get fired for... These boosters and donors are crazy about firing coaches. So
He'll have more than 1 year.
if he goes 4-8 and their recruiting class is outside the top 30 because guys start bailing, and Bob Stoops is right there.
Yeah. Here's a question. What West Texas player that went somewhere else would you most like to come back?
James Washington.
No, current.
Current? Let me think on that. Kyler Jordan comes to mind. Lubbock Cooper,
Yeah.
kind of hybrid linebacker
that
at the
Baylor?
end. He went to Baylor.
I think right now, based on what you're doing, the running back that just committed to TCU.
Major Everhart?
Yeah, that's there right now.
Okay.
I think he could probably be on the field right now.
Yeah.
Renegades, not Desperados.
All time, actually, I would have loved James Washington and Cliff's offense.
Yeah.
Does Brian Urlacher count as a guy from New Mexico?
It's all West Texas. And you certainly had an opportunity at him.
That's
Didn't you want to make him a tight end? And that's why I went to New Mexico?
I don't know.
That's the story. What about the kid from Wichita Falls?
The kid from Wichita Falls. Which one?
I'm blanking. That's from a Picador.
They have a really good receiver, Jamarian Carroll, I think is his last name.
Yeah, but it's already...
Committed to SMU. His tape looks insane to me.
Well, that might fly off too. Well, you have a bunch of receivers already committed. This... Chuck says Taylor Potts for the tight end thing. All right, I'm good if you are. Final thoughts?
You've been wandering in the desert now for quite some time trying to find an identity as a program. You had a really strong identity for a decade under Mike Leach when you made 10 bowl games in 10 seasons. You beat Texas A&M a ton. You beat Texas and OU enough. Mike Leach didn't win any championships here. You weren't terribly nationally relevant most seasons. But the fan base was really happy. Really kind of hard to find a ton of complaints with that era. Since then, you're on your fourth head coach. I think you've got the right one. The quarterback position, besides Patrick Mahomes, has been just guy after guy getting injured, transferring in and out. Terribly inconsistent.
Uh-huh.
I think you've got an opportunity now. I think you got the coaching hire right. I think you're set there. I think you've got an opportunity to get the quarterback position right for the foreseeable future. And
Say it.
for those two things to come together at the same time in this moment would be huge for Texas Tech football.
Say it.
Say what?
The last time you were great, you had the identity of the air raid. Now,
The Behr Raid.
it's the Behr Raid, baby.
The Red Baron. It's an exciting moment. I think that we could look back on 3 years from now. If you're playing in a Big 12 championship game in the new Big 12,
Your second one in a row.
you look back, you go, man, y'all remember Baron Morton's first game? We lost in Stillwater, but that's the moment we knew.
Yeah.
We had
Now-
our guy.
And now we're about to win back-to-back Big 12 championships. That's crazy.
All winning seasons since then. You're going to recruit more guys like that to come play in this offense.
Yeah.
Because Kitley by then will have Zappy in the league.
Right.
We'll have Morton in the league.
If we win this, we're going to the playoff.
I think we'll look back at this podcast this week of Texas Tech football and go like, that's the moment where we finally emerged from this black hole of irrelevance since the Mike Leach firing, where we got the right head coach at the helm at the same time as we got the right quarterback leading now and into the future. We've got the 2023 recruiting class secured, stacking that on top of a stellar 2022 class. This is the moment where it all comes together and Texas Tech turns the page to a new chapter.
Burton. Chase Burton. He was a receiver. He was Heaven Burton's little brother, right? Amen, man. That was great. I loved it. I agree, man. And again, you're putting a lot of stock into one game, and I certainly don't blame you. And I've wanted to see Barron all year. And now I don't want to see anyone but Baron Morton play quarterback. And I think that's fairly easy to say for me.
I'll be with you in terms of being upset if it's not Morton for West Virginia. I think that's a bad miscalculation. I think it lowers this team's ceiling. I think it lowers this team's floor. And I think it hampers what could potentially be there in the future. So you and I, my friend, we are simpatico like we always have been. We
Always
disagree
have
on
been.
some stuff, but we're on the same wavelength.
Love you.
Love y'all.
In for a job that I can't stand, on the verge of quitting or getting canned. I'll be so damn glad when this day's through. When I get home, I know just what I'll do. Go grab a cup, rim it with salt, pull down the vodka and pour in a shot. Pop a top of Topo Chico, only one thing left to put in. Yeah, when life gives you lemons, make you a Chilton.
All of your worry and all of your trouble will be gone after one, so just make a double. That's when it will hit you. This revelation, this drink might be man's finest creation. When your heart is aching or the sun is baking or the